Hi guys, so on Monday, Keir Starmer is attempting to push through an opposition motion in order to extend this uplift to universal credit. So what is this uplift? This is a £20 a week bonus, if you want to call it, to universal credit for people during the pandemic. It started at the beginning of the pandemic and it's expected to end in April. Now, the pandemic is not going to end in April, but this uplift is expected to end. Now, it was introduced to help people who maybe have to self-isolate or their hours are going to be reduced during the pandemic. £20 a week, okay, it's not a huge amount of money, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a lifeline for many people. Now, £20 a week, let's put it into perspective. Boris Johnson, just from his salary as Prime Minister, nothing to do with book deals or donations or anything, he receives £2,800 per week. And people on universal credit are meant to be happy that they're getting an extra £20 a week. That's going to be probably taken away at the end of March. Now, the opposition, Keir Starmer wants to push this bill through, this opposition motion, to extend it beyond April. Boris Johnson has instructed his MPs to abstain. Now, not to vote against it, because I think they understood there would be a huge backlash, but they're going to abstain. Now, the Chancellor of the Exchequer has come out and he has explained he's going to offer instead a £500 bonus instead of the £20 a week. But the £20 a week works out at about £1,000 a year. So Rishi Sunak is saying, please don't accept the opposition's £1,000 a year, accept our £500 a year instead. But let's hear what Caroline Lucas had to say about it.
I mean, it does beg a belief that the government could be choosing this time to make 6 million families worse off by not keeping that uplift to universal credit. So let's hope that it does. But, you know, from the government itself, and you would have thought they would be in touch with their own members of parliament, that this sort of follows a whole series of catastrophes in terms of the way that they've been dealing with some of the people who need support the most. And I'm thinking of things like the whole fiasco over free school meals, for example. So it does seem that they lurch from one crisis to the next. And the narrative that is being written up really is that this is a nasty party again. This is a party that is perfectly happy for the price of the COVID pandemic to be paid by some of the poorest people who are least able to do so. So I hope very much that the fact that we now have those MPs from the so-called red wall areas who may well be putting new pressure on this government that they've not had before, but they need to do it very fast because this is an important issue. There needs to be a signal today. What Labour is doing today with this opposition motion isn't playing politics. It is actually saying that people need to have security going forward.
I just want to repeat her last phrase. You can't really see it. It says this is saying that people need to have security going forward. People need to have something. It's £20 a week. It's not a huge amount of money. Now, it's definitely not a huge amount of money if we compare it to how much has been spent on the test and trace fiasco. Now, there have been billions handed over to Dido Harding, who should be nicknamed Dido Hiding because she hasn't shown her face in public since then. She hasn't been in front of any committees, as far as I know, since she was handed billions of pounds to run the test and trace system that has failed. So the government are saying, look, we have to be careful with the money because we don't want to give poor people too much money. You know, it's expensive giving poor people £20 a week because you don't know what they'll spend it on. But we're happy to give, you know, Dido Harding billions of pounds for something that doesn't work. And we're not going to ask her to come back and explain herself. What about all the money that's been handed over to companies to make PPE and these companies didn't produce PPE, or money that's been handed over to donors of the Conservative Party to do things and they haven't come through with it? once again, I have to explain this. The Conservative Party don't care about the poor and the working class. They never have, they never will. They have been very good at convincing the working class in certain constituencies to vote for them, though. They told them about Brexit, vote for Boris Johnson to get Brexit done. And the poor and the working class in those red wall areas voted for Boris Johnson to get Brexit done. I somewhat lament the fact that Caroline Lucas was not Prime Minister. You probably wonder, what the hell are you talking about? There was an opportunity before, just after Boris Johnson was crowned Prime Minister in 2019, for the opposition parties to form a government of national unity. And there was talk of having Caroline Lucas at the head of that. But unfortunately, the Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn didn't want that. The Labour Party specifically wanted Jeremy Corbyn, and the Liberal Democrats wanted their. They didn't want to go into government with Jeremy Corbyn, with the Labour Party if Jeremy Corbyn was in charge. But there was, for a moment, a chance that Caroline Lucas could have been Prime Minister. It was a very slim chance, but there was that possibility. And can you imagine Caroline Lucas as Prime Minister instead of Boris Johnson? Dealing with this pandemic, dealing with issues like universal credit, the situation would have been somewhat different. Now, once again, you have the Conservative Party abstaining on this vote, demonstrating that they don't care about the poor. They will say that they care about the poor when they're on TV, of course. But as I've said in the past, go to the website where you see how these parties vote, how the MPs vote, how your MP votes, and compare that with the rhetoric that they spew out on TV or in the House of Commons. They will say we care about the poor. They will say we care about the working class. But at the end of the day, they don't. And Boris Johnson will say how much we've spent on universal credit, but it's not the amount at the top. It's not the amount, the full amount. It's how much does each individual family or each individual who's on universal credit get? Because that's what's important. I've said before, universal credit is a disaster. It should be done away with. It should be replaced with something more something that would work much better, universal basic income. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I just wish people would look at this, would realize that the Tories and Boris Johnson don't care about them. They need to be kicked out. You need someone who actually cares about you, someone who will actually fight for you, and not fight for their donors. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?